Hello and welcome to my workshop. Today we're going to make the roll cage at the top. This top comes off right here. It'll start with a simple hoop in the back that'll come to connect from side to side. There'll be a hoop in the front that'll come down to the dash and follow the windshield. Then there'll be a piece that runs from front to back and another hoop that'll come down probably in this general location right about here. So let's get started with that. So to build the roll cage inside, I have two different sizes of stainless steel tubing. This is actually, I believe it's called capillary tubing. It's a really cheap tubing. I'm not 100% sure of the metallurgy. It's ordered off eBay from China. It does work really well. It solders up very well, bends well. It seems to be pretty strong. What you get with the quality is that the inside diameter varies from run to run. Or it comes in like I said, the 4 and 5 millimeter sizes, which gives it it's probably about the most realistic size for this scale of truck. So the first step we're going to do is create a vertical piece here, bolt it to the floor, and just have it coming straight up in this general vicinity right here. And once we make the front and rear hoops, then we'll be able to connect these two. So I cut two short pieces of the 5 millimeter that will slip right down behind this B-pillar, and I drilled 2 holes in the base of the plastic, and that's where I will be able to put screws, 3 millimeter screws up from below. The opening is a little bit too large just to tap it with a 3 millimeter hole. So what I end up doing is filling in the top portion with silver solder, and then I will drill that back out and retap the hole, and that'll allow me to then permanently affix this down to the body. So as you can see, I've filled up the lower portion of the hole with the silver solder, and now I can come back and drill and tap, get this ready for a 3 millimeter. So I typically do most of the bends with this tubing bender. It's a 1/4 inch tubing bender, which is obviously not the right size, but you can kind of get the same effect. The radius is fairly tight, but I'm not sure if it's tight enough for this bend. So I'm going to give this a try and see if it's going to be tight enough. If not, I'll have to come up with another option for bending it. So I made a small mark about where the height of the straight piece should be. So I'm putting that past the bend, and it's just basically some arbitrary amount, but just as long as there's enough, I can trim this end down later. what I like to do is to try to match each side. I will mark where the post is for bending, and then I will mark the 0 spot on the tube. And so what that allows me to do is get a bend on one side and use the reference off of the body to gauge about where I need to make my marks in corresponding to here. And then I can know that if I put the post here and the 0 here based off of wherever this kind of lines up with the body measurements, then I can get the thing fairly the right width on the first try. So I took the bent piece, and just like the two front pieces, I filled in the holes with silver solder, drilled them back out, and then tapped them for a 3mm screw. I have 2 holes drilled in the back of the body, and this fits snugly down into between the frames. Actually, very snugly. There you go. So I was able to put a little bit of a bend in the end of this upright. I discovered that it was hitting just on the inside of this B-pillar, and if you can kind of tell, it has just a little bit of a bend in right there. So now when this comes up, it'll miss the top of that B-pillar and kind of contour with it a little bit better. It also kind of solves another problem, is that I needed to get the because this is tapered in toward the front, and I also needed to get the rail to bend in more. So now it's not going to be such a steep bend. It'll already be bending in slightly, and then it'll take its last little bend into the front hoop. And the front hoop, I ground the feet down so that fits in pretty nicely right here in front of the windshield, and that's where the this final piece will terminate. I need to cut what they call a fish mouth, and so what I'll do is I'll take a regular file on its side and get a groove started. Once I get that groove started, I'll come in with a small chainsaw file, and I'll cut across to that groove. So now you can see that when you put the tube on top, it fits very snugly, and it'll allow the tube to get a good solder joint. So as you can see, I took the bend right after this post, and that leads up just to the inside, which gives me room still to put the screw in to hold the topper in. And then that comes slightly back to the bend back here, and everything is sitting nice and level. And when you put the topper on, it sits right, this sits right up underneath the topper. You can just see a little bit of the roll cage through the window, which will be nice because, like I said, this will be painted white, so it'll be a nice contrast. I still have to put the other side on, and then I'll put a cross brace between these two. The hardest part is going to be this front piece, because I need this angle for the window, but obviously can't solder it with the window in place. So what I'll have to do is take the front off, leave the dash in place, and probably put some napkins with water so the heat doesn't transfer down into the plastic, and come up with some type of temporary brace structure. I can put this on the other side to get this at just the right angle, because it's a really tight fit. But I think this is coming along fairly well, and just a couple more pieces and we'll be done, ready for paint and final install. So I was able to get the roll cage finished up, painted, and as it fits very nicely down into the body. There's 4 points where it mounts the body, and on the dash it just rests up there. But that should be sufficient. The front, and clip that into place, and it's close, but it's not touching anywhere. And then the topper slips on. There you go. So you've got the nice, just a hint of the roll cage in the front and back, which I think looks very nicely. You know, painted white, so it, you know, it mostly disappears, but if you're really looking for it, you can see it. And I think it's going to really add nicely to the look of the Jeep. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope it's been entertaining. I'm looking forward to getting this truck out on the trail and finished up, and I hope that'll be coming up very soon. Till then, we'll see you in the rocks.